Good morning, everyone. I haven't shared a Bible study in maybe like 2 weeks. Fallen a little behind on that. I've been kind of focusing on figuring out how to kind of let you guys in to what brought me to where I'm at, so you can understand why I'm making these these videos. Gosh, I'm building. I'm growing. I'm turning into a new person, one who follows the Lord and tries to live by what He wants. So, I'll just give you a little bit of my background. There's kind of a lot to me, a lot that I don't really share with people. So, let me just start by saying that my childhood wasn't easy. We faced demons that weren't ours when we were kids and kind of lived on a roller coaster. There were times where we were homeless. There were times where we had a home. There was a time where we were in foster care. It was a lot. There was a lot of up and downs. There was God, and then there wasn't God, and then there was God, and there wasn't God. So it was kind of a constant battle with figuring out where we were supposed to be in our lives and who we were supposed to be. And by we, I mean me and my brothers. Pretty have a few of those. I'm the only girl though, so I grew up real different, wearing hand-me-downs and being a tomboy and making mistakes like everybody else. I started drinking really young. At like 12 years old, I was stealing cigarettes from my parents' friends and people that I babysat for. It wasn't the right thing to do, but I was really lost. I felt like I didn't belong. And my friends convinced me to do these things, and I just went with them because I wanted someone to like me. My parents were on their own path, and sometimes I just didn't feel like, I fit in with the family, with the boys, with everything. I also have two stepdads who've been there in my life at different times. My father passed away when I was 22. I didn't get a lot of time with him, but I did get to learn from him some things that I really carry with me these days. It was not easy, the roller coaster of life. So by 13, I was drinking a lot, and I was smoking marijuana, and by 15 I was going to AA classes, and like, I don't know that I ever actually told my mom that. So I just went with some friends to a local church, and they had late night AA classes, and they let me sit in with them. By 16, I was doing cocaine with friends and drinking, and I just wasn't on a good path. And I'm thankful that the Lord didn't give me children at a young age with all the craziness that I was into. But if He would have, I would have done what I needed to. I always wanted to be a mom. I just was lost along the way. So I just wasn't in a good way. And by 18, I had lost some weight. I had started to change, started to grow up, and I moved out of my mom's house at like 17. I moved back in with my mom for a little while, and then by 20, my mom bought me a one-way bus ticket to Fargo, North Dakota, where I went and stayed with a friend for a couple years. And I grew up, but I still was kind of in the same scene. I was still drinking, partying. I wasn't even old enough to be drinking, and I was still doing it. I was partying. I was taking mushrooms. I was getting into trouble. At 16, I had been assaulted. I left a place that I didn't want to be because people were doing drugs, and I walked home by myself late at night, and I didn't have any shoes on. I didn't have a coat. I didn't have anything. And so I asked someone that used to come to the gas station I worked at for help, and instead I woke up in their home, in their bed. It wasn't where I wanted to be, but it didn't change. I just kept going down that road. I kept partying and drinking, and then I let that be the excuse that I started doing harder drugs, and I didn't really change. I kind of just roller coastered. I got married to my first husband in North Dakota when I was 21 years old. He was incarcerated. I wanted him to know that I loved him and that I was going to be there, but I wasn't there. I came home because my father was sick and he was dying, and it was just, I was so lost, and I kept drinking and partying, and I abandoned everything. I abandoned myself. I abandoned my husband. I abandoned my now ex-husband. I was so lost. And then I lost my father, and I had separated from my husband, and I had started seeing somebody else, and that just got real sour after a while, and we became very toxic to each other. We were not nice to each other. But I had a daughter in 2013, my first daughter, and she is when I wanted to change, and it was hard. I didn't feel like there was solid ground, so I just left, and I took her with me, and I went to college, and I kept growing, and I kept learning. So my daughter was 2 when I left her dad, and I struggled for a while, and I was going to college. I was working full time. My aunt was taking care of my daughter while I was doing everything. She was there for me. Yeah, it was hard. It was a lot being a single mom, and I met this super awesome guy online, and we started just talking and getting to know each other. He listened. He didn't cross boundaries. He gave me time. He gave me space. It was hard. I wasn't in a good place. I was still drinking a lot. I was still partying when I had a chance, even with my daughter, even with school, even with everything. And this guy, he helped lift me up. He helped me become someone different a little bit at a time. He was patient with me. He helped me to realize what I had been through, where I was at, my mental and emotional state, the fact that I was broken and I needed more. So, fast forward, here we are. We've been together 8 years. I'm married to him. We have our 2 beautiful children, my beautiful daughter, who is now 12 years old. And, for a couple years when COVID hit, we talked about we needed some Jesus. We both felt just lost, and like something needed to change, something needed to give. So I went to church a few times back and forth with my pregnancies. I just wanted something, but I didn't know what I wanted. I wasn't finding what I needed. And so about the time I was going to throw in the towel, we went to his friend's wedding, and I met his wife, and she was just this delight of a person, so sweet and so kind. First time I met her, and I went to church with her a few times. She invited me out, and they went to this really cool little house church, and everyone was so nice and so kind and so supportive. But I was still drinking, and I was still smoking, and I was still trying to find my ground, solid ground, something. And she just kept reaching out, and then she came to my wedding in 2021, and she took over, and she made things happen, and there became this like connection for me to her, knowing that she was put there for a reason, and I had a brand new baby and a 1-year-old and a 9-year-old, and it was so much, and I was marrying this amazing man, and things were changing, but we were still drinking, I was still smoking, it was still on that same disconnect, and she kept reaching out. She kept inviting me to church. I went to other churches, and I just wasn't finding what I was looking for. And so I prayed on it, and I said, Lord, there are 3 things that I want in a church. And I wanted to not wear shoes. That was a big thing for me. I grew up thinking of Moses in the burning bush, and how Moses is told to remove his shoes because he's standing on holy ground, and that always sat with me. And so I really loved that, and I was looking for that in a church, a place where I didn't feel shamed because I wanted to take my shoes off. I wanted to feel loved and accepted, and feel like I could be vulnerable and open, and that was really important as well. I didn't want to feel like an outcast, and sometimes I still do, but the church I'm at, with this small little house church, it's so warm, and there's so much light and love. But the biggest thing was I wanted to be baptized. I tried to be baptized. I'd been through it a few times, and they want you to take these classes, and then they have to approve you, and it was like, I didn't feel like that's how it was supposed to be, so it never fit for me. It wasn't working for me. So I kept returning to this house church, and I kept going, and I started going more, and I finally got up the courage, and it was already, the first 2 things were there. Nobody really wears their shoes there, and it was great to feel accepted and loved, and like I could open up and be vulnerable, and I found support in these people who didn't know anything about me, and they just helped me to grow. And the way that they connected with each other, it was a beautiful thing. And then I went to the pastor one day, and I said, hey, how do you guys do baptisms? I want to get baptized. This would be important to me. This is something I always wanted to do. And he said, well, if we got you a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, could we do it today? And I mean, it was perfect. I had shorts and a tank top and a towel in my car from the previous day, taking my kids to the park. So it was meant to be. And I got a hold of my husband. He came out to the church. He was there, and 6 people ended up getting baptized that day. And it was just so beautiful. And I didn't have to have someone's permission to do it. He just took me out there, and he made it happen. And it was, they asked, why do you want to be baptized? What does it mean to you? And I wanted it because I wanted a chance to wash away the past and all the pain and the hurt and the things that weren't even mine, but were stuck with me. I wanted a chance to be redeemed and become someone else. So June 23rd of 2024, I was baptized. And October, I quit smoking marijuana, and I lost my job November 1st, and it was so hard because all I wanted to do was go back to smoking, going back to that person to relieve that pain, to take it and lift it off my shoulders. And I didn't. I kept going. And in January, my husband and I both quit drinking. January of 2025, we quit drinking. He quit nicotine. Neither one of us smoked marijuana anymore. We were changing. We were making all these changes. And the whole time, and he came to church with me, and he got baptized in September of 2024. And it was like the Lord was just lifting us up and carrying us and changing us and making things different and better and doing all these things, you know. And so we kept going, we keep going, we keep growing, and we're learning, and we're doing these things and trying to be different for our kids, for ourselves, for the Lord. And so I started doing these Bible studies, these text message Bible studies with a couple of ladies at church, and they're great, and I really love them, and I love having that connection, those people to talk to. But I felt like I wanted to share them, share where I'm at and who I'm becoming and all the things that touched and blessed me. So that's what I'm doing. And I thought that sharing these videos would be, hold on, sharing all of this is like part of the process and the growing, because now I get to, you know, let what I'm learning out for other people who might be feeling a little lost and like they don't understand. And it's just a beautiful thing. So I really thank everyone who stops in and sees my videos and gives me time, loves the Lord, is showing support and growing with me. So if you have anything you want to share, or any way that you struggle, that, you know, I can maybe connect with you on, I'm here. We are imperfect people who live hard lives, who have made mistakes, but we don't always have to be the same way. The Lord opens his arms so we can grow and so we can change. Sorry, my hands are shaking. But he's here for us. So he wants to lift us up and just share our hearts with each other. So I'm here and he is there, and together we can grow if we want to. Anyways, bless you in the name of the Lord. Thank you for all that he has done for me in my life, and all the changes and the growing and the strength to become a new person, for my children, for myself, for the people in my life. You know, I thank him for everything that he does every day, and all the things that I have in my life, and all the things that are yet to come from his will, and just the blessing of having his love. And I just am so thankful for every day that I get to be here and grow and change and share the Lord with other people. Amen.